Good morning.
Well, good morning, Scott. How are you today?
Fine, sir. How are you?
Just another day in paradise.
No,
Isn't that the truth?
That's my story, and I'm just going to stick with it. How are you today, Jessica?
doing well, thank you.
Good.
Hi,
And we got
Gina.
Gina today. We got an upgrade.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, please don't tell. Please don't give me up on it.
Yeah.
And somebody is down there from the city of Georgetown.
I'm here just to turn your meeting on and walk away.
Well,
he's-
good morning. I was
Good
surprised.
morning, everybody.
Good morning.
He's our
How's everybody doing?
good. He's our silent host today.
You got
Yes,
it.
our host.
Silent host.
And as soon as we get the meeting started, his instructions are to sign off.
I've been instructed.
Well, there you go.
Thank you. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's good to
Morning.
see everybody's here on Zoom.
Looks like we've got everybody on. Andrew, are we recording and streaming?
You are live and recording.
Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Okay. If I could go ahead and call our meeting to order, please. And Jessica, would you let the minutes reflect that Superintendent Hub has submitted a proxy for Gina to join us today. And other than that, all commissioners are present. Scott sent us a copy of the minutes of our last meeting. If you'd like to take, if there are any corrections or additions, if you'd let us know those. If not, we'll entertain a motion if they be approved.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion, please.
And that motion is seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you. Scott, we've mentioned this before. I find real value to your report to the commissioners. And it's a lot of stuff that we could get bogged down in discussion here, and we still can if any commissioner has a question. But I think it's a real helpful tool for us. I did note that we're still working on getting our rolling IRS, our due process ordinance set up, and wondered what the school system and the county's progress on that ordinance.
I have a second reading on Thursday evening that will complete us.
Yep, that'll get you done. Gina, do you know if your board has taken any action yet on that?
We have completed the resolution. It's going to the board meeting tomorrow, so it should be in effect after tomorrow. I'll let you know as soon as it's passed.
That's great progress. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, if there are no questions about Scott's report to the commissioners, Scott, do you have an update on GMWSS?
Yes, sir. We have received a response from them with some questions and ideas and counter proposals in there. We had a little bit of a hiccup. We had hoped it would be before their board at the August meeting, and that did not happen. But I believe they may be having a special called meeting later that we may be able to get that out there. There is some discussion about the rent we proposed. We had proposed to have that all inclusive of utilities. They're pushing back a little bit on that. There were some other items mostly housekeeping type things. Lewis Wolf got me a copy of our business owners policy, which would cover our liability in case something were to happen while we were there. So we're gathering some of that information. Jessica, was there anything else of note to add other than it is moving forward, but we just had a little minor hiccup?
I don't think so. I think just that I think Andrew had told us it would go before their special called meeting, which I believe is this week. I think it might be tomorrow or Friday. So I guess we'll hear back more in terms of the negotiation terms that they aren't happy with, or hopefully next week.
Good. So Scott, at this point, these sound like still productive, friendly conversations working toward a goal.
Yes, and it was really more of a heads up between Chase, I think, and Andrew, as far as knowing his board, what he thinks are likely to be some of the concerns and issues. So we certainly appreciate that.
Good. And I will say for Chase that in addition to this issue, he's keeping some planet-sized issues aloft. And the juggling job he's being asked to do right now is pretty amazing. So,
Yes, absolutely.
But as long as they're operating in good faith with you, then trust we'll get this worked out.
Yes, I hope so. We're very pleased so far.
Thank you. I know we've had an update and some activity on the Kentucky Jobs Retention Act, Scott.
Yes, I had sent you the document. Let me share it, see if I can not screw this up. Okay, here we go. So this was the year, fiscal year 2021 for this employer, which of course started April 1st, where the cap was going to drop from 2.5 million per jurisdiction to 1.5 million per jurisdiction annually. But apparently, when I started getting the summary sheets that you see here, they actually dropped it to 1.2 million. So apparently there has been some discussion and maybe a little bit of confusion. I've been a party to some conversations with Stacy and Devin on this about them actually reducing it another 300,000, which apparently is going to be a form of a forbearance, like you do on a student loan or a mortgage modification, where they're going to drop that per jurisdiction $300,000 for the next 4 years and then add it back in the last 3. So the only other departure in how they're doing it is because of the size of this employer's payroll. Typically in prior years, they had reached the cap in the 10th month of the fiscal year. In fact, that 10th payment was not even a full payment because they had reached the cap. But since it's been lowered by 52% starting this year, they would reach that cap if they followed that same methodology in about 4 or 5 months. So what they've chosen to do, as you can see here, is do $120,000 per month per jurisdiction. And then at the 10th month, they will have reached the cap of 1.2 million. And then just as in prior years, in February and March, we would not issue a reimbursement. So that's the only departure. You can see here, Scott County United still getting their $20,000 per month or $200,000 a year. So that's just a change in methodology. And my understanding is this discussion of the extra 300,000 kind of got started back in May, but that's my understanding as we sit here today.
Good. And Scott, your explanation of this has been helpful to Stacy and Devin. Who's given some of the council's current activity. They've already spent this money.
Well, and what I'm going to do, what I pledged to do before the next council meeting for Devin and Stacy is to put together a narrative, because they had asked me to go back to my contact at KEDFA in Frankfurt to verify that there was nothing else that needed to be done at their level. And I've got some detail on that. The person that actually manages this account is actually someone I've worked with for 12 years. She helped me tremendously with a lot of the accounts we had in Louisville Metro. So she's very knowledgeable, always knows all the answers. And this is not a problem from their perspective, but I want to put those details in a narrative for Devin and Stacy so they have that moving forward.
Good. Thank you. Any questions for Scott or Jessica about this report? Okay, Scott, then we drop all the way down to a general discussion.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying the items that require no action. There was something I wanted to share with you on that this month. and it's on page 2. I just wanted to point out to you because there are a couple of bits of good news, and I think we can all use that in 2020. It's the analysis of the new businesses and closed businesses. And for the first 7 months of 2020, we are still averaging 78 new businesses per month setting up shop and registering with us. And I've given you a lot of detail here. I knew in 2020 that the number of closed businesses would increase, and it did, and the number of new businesses would decrease, which it did, but I was surprised at how low those numbers were. It was not as bad as I anticipated it might be. And you can even see the month-by-month breakdown. And of course, the big spike in new cases in July over the prior year is explained because the filing deadline was in July, not in April. Normally, new businesses, when they file their first return, we get the registration and the return sometimes together in April. So we saw that spike in July this year. But at an average of 78 new businesses for the first 7 months of this year, if that trend continues for the remaining 5 months of 2020, it is possible that we will end the year with over 1,000 new businesses registered in 2020 during a pandemic, which I think is pretty remarkable. I've got a couple of bullet points here. I think part of the explanation for this, and most of this is just anecdotal, but I think our compliance efforts are paying off. Jessica is really doing some amazing things. We're getting a lot of people on payment plans. A lot of people are paying. They're coming into compliance. Even some people we've talked about in these meetings who we have been chasing for years have hired attorneys, and they're getting their tax returns together, and they're registered with us. And it also manifests itself in another way, and that is some folks are getting very creative with how they're trying to circumvent our compliance efforts. So I think that's testimony to the fact that word is getting out that ignoring the Revenue Commission is no longer an option. We're going to find you, and we're going to get you into compliance. That's part of it. And another interesting thing, and again, this is anecdotal as a second bullet point, what we're seeing is that when these businesses register with us, one of the things we do is we check the Kentucky Secretary of State website to see if there are any other businesses that they might also need to register with the Revenue Commission. And what we're seeing is a lot of these new businesses, especially in the construction trades, what's happening is because of the pandemic, they have lost a significant amount of business. So they are expanding their service areas to now include Georgetown and Scott County. So they might be based in Winchester or Paris or Frankfort, and they might have pretty much stuck to those areas for the most part, but they've lost so much business, they're expanding their service areas and coming into Scott County and registering with us. So I just wanted to kind of share those two things with you and let you know in terms of the new businesses, those are some of the things we're seeing.
Yeah, Scott, the robust nature of the new businesses during very fragile times, that's encouraging.
Yeah, it is. And then the last, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. I was going to ask, just me being curious, would it be hard to provide the commissioners with a spreadsheet like from I guess maybe May, just seeing, April and May, just seeing the names of the new and the names of the closed?
No, we can do that.
I'm just out of my curiosity. If that's not, I don't want you to reinvent the wheel. If it's easy to do, do it. If not, I understand.
No, we keep it all on a spreadsheet, so I can pull that together for you. And you want me to present it at the next meeting, or you want me to do it following this meeting?
Oh, just whenever you get a chance.
Okay. So from May forward.
Yeah.
Okay. We will get that done.
Should we throw, really things started kicking in April with the pandemic. Should we throw April in there?
Sure. Not a problem.
I would just add for these closed accounts, it's important to note that as you're looking through these, our two of our staff actually for the first time ever did a closed file purge. So the reason that might impact the closed numbers is that they actually manually went through every account that was in a closed filing cabinet. And that might mean more were closed that were administratively, they didn't get closed when they should have. So the numbers could be, and you'll notice the dates, there'll be dates on this report. So a lot of that will be just administrative housekeeping, putting those dates in, closing the accounts out. So really, in my opinion, if you're looking at those numbers, they're probably a little higher than they would have been in terms of the actual businesses that are currently closing during those months, just because we've been this another phase of our getting, our house in order in terms of all of our files and record retention and everything. So
Those might be elevated actually a little bit.
yeah, that's what I meant. So the actual amount of businesses that closed during that time might not be as high as those numbers are. Now, that's just anecdotal. As Scott, there's no way for me to, well, we probably could actually pull that, but that's something to consider as you're looking at those numbers, just because that was a very large kind of housekeeping project that was undertaken during this time because the office was closed. And so our receptionist admin had a lot more time to be able to do that, and it really needed done. So
Okay.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a factor as well.
Yeah. And Scott, I didn't want that to be on an agenda. I just wanted to take a peek at it. And if
Sure.
it was a thing that you all could easily pull up and email, then great. I didn't want it to be on an agenda. I just wanted to take a peek.
Okay, well, we can
Tammy
do
runs
that.
I think
Thank
Tammy
you.
does that report each month anyway, right?
She does.
So.
She does. We keep it on a monthly basis with all the names and the sectors, what type of businesses they are. So we can certainly do that.
Yeah. I was thinking, how many restaurants have we, had really closed? How many, just that kind of stuff is what's.
Right.
Be nice to see what type, if they're service or if they're retail, what's.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And to Jessica's point, I think anytime we start tracking new data or start looking at it in a different way, it's valuable information, but it becomes more accurate over time. And as we can trend it and get rid of these anomalies that happen when you start collecting data. But that's a helpful explanation, Jessica. Thank you.
And we are doing lots of different projects to try and make our data as accurate as we can. And a lot of that's because of the position that we've got Rashay in. I mean, she's currently working on another project to kind of hone in and fill in the gaps and make sure that the data is as accurate as it can be. And that closed file purge was a big step for us in that.
Yes. And then the last thing on this second page is also good news. We have a new KBI project activation, Adient USA LLC. I've been notified by KEDFA in Frankfurt, and I've also the payroll manager over there has reached out to me about how we're going to handle this moving forward. But this is good news because it means they've hired the required number of people and they're paying them what they told KEDFA they would be paying them. And so they're ready to start claiming their credits. So whenever that happens, that's good news because that means new jobs in the community.
Yeah, this KBI process is a long one, Scott.
It can literally take years.
Yeah.
So that's all I had, unless anybody had any questions on any of the other items requiring no action. That's the only two things I wanted to point out.
I won't ask for an explanation, but I noticed the county's check's bigger than mine, but anyway.
Well, actually, we had talked about that. And I think what the issue is the ratio of people that chose to file in April versus who filed extensions or are just waiting to file in October in the city is higher. So you didn't get as many returns in July as the county did. And we think a big part of that is the fact that in the city, a lot of the employers are national chains, corporations, big box, national hotel chains, national retail outlets, things of that nature. And typically many of those always file an extension anyway. So they were never going to file until October 15th. And now because of the executive order, there's no incentive to even give us an extension. We'd like them to, but there's no penalty or interest there's no penalty if they fail to do that. And many of them may have chosen that. So I think it's a function of the the mix of businesses in the city versus the mix of businesses in the county.
Well, thank you. I was just making a flip comment, but you actually gave me a rational explanation.
No, when I saw that number, I thought, you know, and of course we were up across the board, which we knew because the April filing deadline happened in July. But then I thought, well, I mean, you're not down much. It's less than 1%, but it's still, well, that's odd. And then we talked through it and we think that's probably the most plausible explanation. Just the ratio of returns that have been filed is lower for the city in July. And you'll probably see that recovered in the October 15th filings.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Maybe you can, Michelle and I noticed, in our net profit revenues that, as you all talking, they're considerably up. And we're looking at consideration for a possible review at the end of the first quarter for possible cost of living increase. And just, you don't want to do anything. I wanted to review things after the first quarter to give the court good data. And right now we look in pretty good shape. Would you agree with that statement as far as, we've not have we continue to have good returns?
Well, but that's true. But the caveat is that what was filed July 15th and what will be filed October 15th is a reflection of the 2019 net profit year. That was all pre-COVID. So, those numbers will largely be unaffected by this.
Yes.
So it's next year at this time when we're seeing April 15th filings and October filings. Those will be for the year 2020.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to see, I would anticipate precipitous drops in net profit collections. And I think I mentioned this at the last meeting at Louisville Metro during the recession of 08 and 09. What we saw was many businesses reported net losses, so they paid us nothing. And the ones that did have a net profit, the net profit they reported was significantly lower than the prior 3 to 5 years. So next year at this time, those numbers will not look as good as they do right now for net profits.
So, like we drastically reduced our net profit estimate in what we budgeted, just anticipating that. So, knowing that, that we were going to take a hit. So, we reduced that in our budget and almost want to treat it like it's just anything that it would be a plus. It's nothing that we're depending on.
Yeah, and what I'm anticipating based on the extensions we've already seen, and of course we haven't seen maybe as many extensions as we normally would because there's no penalty for not filing an extension. But I'm anticipating a heavier than normal October, partially because there's no penalty for not filing or interest. And so I would anticipate this October will be unusually heavy, and these again are going to be the folks that would have normally filed in April. Some filed in July. Those that have not, we're going to see. But again, when you see those numbers, they're likely to be good. But don't get excited because it's 2019.
That bump is fool's gold.
That's a good way to put it. Yes.
It really is. We're going to be observing two totally different things happen, and both are important to us. We're going to monitor in real time what our payroll collections are, and we're seeing them stay robust. And we anticipate that they will stay robust. But Scott's right. We have to anticipate that net profits will completely tank in 1 year. Our receipts lag reality by 1 year, whereas payroll is real time. So that is a caution that I've been giving the council as they consider spending.
Very true.
That closed business list will help us anticipate that too. We can kind of look at it and adjust how much that affects our payrolls, if at all.
Yes.
Well, I always appreciate your all's reports and appreciate the work that you all do.
Glad to do it. Thank you. We appreciate that acknowledgement.
Okay, Scott, are there other things for general discussion?
I have none. Jessica, do you have any?
The only thing that I wanted to bring up was just that I wanted to see if you all, I know that it's partially based on that state order, I think, but the penalty and interest suspension, has there been talk of when that might be lifted? I know I saw some signage in the county courthouse, but I just wanted to ask just because we're continuing to waive those, but if there's a date in mind when that might be, when that waiver might end, I just wanted to see if either of you had that information.
I do not.
Okay.
I don't either, Jessica. I'm
Okay.
kind of in the blind there and would probably ask you to answer that question.
Well, I knew that there was through the local executive order. So, because I know that the state order only specified utility cutoffs. So I knew it was through the local executive order. So I didn't know if there'd been talk about rescinding that but if it's not on the radar, that probably means it's not happening right now anytime soon. So,
Well, we're aware that some of our executive orders are probably stale now. And the judge has asked me about, should we rescind some of those? And we've kind of been hesitant simply because we don't know what circumstances we might grow back into and didn't want to quickly release things that we would have to reimpose. So it is something that the judge and I have discussed, but don't have a conclusion to it yet.
Okay. Well, we're using it as a tool, trying to get people that are new, current without having to pay any penalties. That's sort of our spin right now. So I just wanted to ask and see if that, just to make sure we were doing what we were supposed to do.
Yeah, we are using that extensively. Please, register and file now because there's no penalty and interest for doing so, and we don't know how long that's going to last. So we will just continue status quo and continue using it to try to increase compliance.
Yeah, you need all the carrots you can get, Scott.
Absolutely. A whole garden full. A couple of acres full.
Exactly. Exactly. Anything else, Jessica?
Nope, that's it.
Gina, anything you've got for us today?
No, nothing other than our board meeting sharing that resolution, and hopefully that'll be passed without a problem. So I think we'll
Means
be
we're going to start litigating.
Judge, anything else today?
Nothing else from me. Do we need a motion to adjourn?
I will accept that.
I'll second
Okay.
that.
Thank
right,
you
all
all.
of us are in
Thank
favor.
you. Take care.
Thank
Scott,
you.
Jessica, thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.